little Season Quest Q&A with with the, all of the members of Season Quest, every single one of them. It's me, Lucy.
It's me, Charlie. All of the members.
All of us, both of us. How are you today, Charlie?
I'm doing swell.
It's so great that just the two of us could record together today.
No, I'm here.
Smaller.
Sorry, I'm very here. Hello.
So this is a Q&A for Heroes and Haunt, or just generally chatting about the last little bit of recording. Minus, one of the guys. Troy's not here because he has COVID.
Troy, yet again, missing a Q&A session.
Yeah, look, he's a busy guy. And the three of us have literally nothing else to do.
He's not busy, he has a disease.
He's busy with the disease.
Get busy living
Getting
or
busy with
dying.
COVID.
I'm gonna because we're gonna structure this like we structure all our Q&As, where we just do a sort of we'll do a general breakdown of Haunt, and then we'll slip into Heroes, and then we'll be done. Okay? I got places to be.
So the way Haunt worked is, for the house, I did genuinely randomly generate it. I had every room assigned to a playing card. The only things that weren't random about it was I kept adding rooms. I think I started with about 25, and then I built it up to, I think, 40. And I held back the Office of Homes, and that's kind of all I did for that.
What's the Office of Homes?
That was the final room that Holmes was in, his, office.
Oh, right, Holmes, his name, not,
Yeah. Oh,
not
yeah.
plural of houses, yes. It's been a long time since we played Haunt.
It's been a
The
minute.
Bureau of Houses. Go in there, you open up the filing cabinet. Oh, yeah, we got a fucking cabin here.
It's the fucking
Beach house.
Homeowners Association.
And yeah, Holmes is based on the serial killer H.H. Holmes, who had this kind of, death house that, he would just fucking murder people in. And
Allegedly.
No. The only allegedly is some people think he was also Jack the Ripper, because the timing around Jack the Ripper ending in London and the killings, or Holmes being in America, kind of line up, but that's the most flimsy circumstantial evidence fucking
Also,
ever.
that's kind of selfish for a serial killer to take up two niches, pretty much. That's not cool.
Yeah, it
In
also
the
didn't
serial
kill people the same way.
serial killer community.
What's some other stuff in Haunt that was interesting? The
Charlie.
glass. You're Charlie?
Yeah, Charlie
Charlie
was
was
just something
interesting.
interesting.
Charlie was also based on a serial killer.
Great. The glass. The glass pit is based off an episode of Criminal Minds, where someone built a murder house essentially, and there was this awful glass pit.
Remind the listeners what the whole thing of the glass pit was, for those of our listeners who don't remember.
You're a fucking asshole. It's fine, it was ages ago.
It's been a year.
Yeah, essentially. There was a door that was shut and really difficult to get open, and the idea was that you would run into the door to try to bash it open and fall into a glass pit. I think I used spikes in the actual recording. Yeah, now I just said that and then I remembered that. Yeah. Did you guys ever find the attic?
I don't remember.
I think we got into an attic at some point.
We got into a basement.
We sure did.
And I can't remember, did you guys you guys got the monkey paw, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
That was my favourite thing I added. Because monkey paw is silly.
And that's when I was like, I'm going to be really good with this monkey paw. And then next scene, I'm like, man, I wish there were fucking better ways to do this or some shit.
It was so great.
I do want to say, I think that Haunt has some of the best episode titles in Season Quest history. Hello to Teaching. Can I Have Your Attention? That's episode 1. Charlie's favorite card. Not our best, but still pretty good. Into the Unknown. Fine. Shoot First, Questions Later. Great one. Shoot is spelt like a chute, like when you slide down a chute. Not like a gun. Hole Stuck.
C-H-U-T-E?
Yes.
Yeah. C-H-U-T-E. Reflection Detection. Zinc has mummy issues, personal favorite of mine.
Mummy.
There's a monster in the basement. Familiar faces, places, and spaces. The Darkest Timeline 2, Electric Boogaloo. I fully forgot that we lost an entire recording session of Haunt. That was so much more irritating than Autumn, because we had to redraw a bunch of cards and every single thing was completely different.
Yeah,
that was fucking irritating.
Yeah.
But it did lead to, I think, a lot of cool moments with because that was when Tatzel found the kid, I think. I don't remember.
I think both The Darkest Timeline for Haunt and Autumn had better outcomes for a better season. So I think next time, for Cosmos, we record the entire thing, delete it, and then record it again.
Yeah, let's do that for the first episode.
You don't know what would have happened in Autumn. In Autumn, it could have been fucking rad. You guys were gonna meet a bunch of... You were gonna meet a bunch of forest monkeys.
That was cool, but the way that session ended and how it led into everything else was the best thing that could have happened to Autumn. Autumn's a great season.
And then the last two episodes are the school's back in session and making a house of homes.
Yeah, you're right. Great episode titles.
They're pretty good.
No.
I really like There's a Monster in the Basement because it's just a statement and it's totally true. It's like, that's what it looks like. It's actually a quote from the episode. It's one of the NPCs like screaming, but I just really like the idea of it just being like, there's a monster in the basement.
Oh yeah, because they were talking about Tatzel.
Yeah.
Speaking of names, let's me and Tom had a bit of fun with our character names. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Thomas?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about our character names. My character's name was Tatzel Vaughn Cullen. Tatzel is Lestat backwards, like the vampire from Interview with a Vampire.
Very good.
Vaughn was my dad's name, and Cullen is from Twilight. Because I was a vampire.
That was good.
So
it's a good
Charlie,
name.
you want to continue your name?
Sorry,
Haunt was a really long time ago, and I don't remember the interesting story behind Tatzel's name.
At least you knew the origins, because Zinc Dr. Menace 2, Raptor's Revenge, I have no idea where I got that from. I think I just kept...
Why the fuck did you set up this question then?
It was one of the questions from the cast, from the Twitter, for sure.
I remember I just kept adding names until I felt like it was enough of a mouthful, and even then, I feel like I probably could have added another sentence or two. It's my favorite name that I've had for a character in Season Quest, definitely.
It's a very good name. I don't really have anything else I want to say about Haunt. That's all my things.
I had a snake. His name was Slippery. He was my friend. Oh,
Slippery.
I had a child. Don't remember his name. That he was cool.
it was like Dev Ross or something.
I just want to say, quick thing on Haunt. About, I think after Haunt, I said I'm never playing a Blood Hunter again, that they're not that fun. But I think I just played a Blood Hunter kind of wrong. And it would be a lot more fun if I played it with more, like, emphasis on the hunter part, I guess. Or, like, more of a... I don't know. I only used my transformation, like, twice total. Once in the fucking... like, in the main scene where I used it, and then once against Homeowner. So...
Actually, I have a question that I think is related to Haunt. So I based Haunt off one of my favourite board games ever, Betrayal at the House on the Hill.
That's the game. That's the bitch.
That's the game. If you guys could run a season, or run a campaign of any kind, based on a game, or like a property or something, what would you do?
Ooh.
I have a pitch for another idea I would use, if you guys want time to think.
Yeah, go for it.
I think it would be fun to run a one-shot based on the board game Kill Dr. Lucky. Kill Dr. Lucky is like reverse Cluedo, where instead of solving a crime, you're trying to kill Dr. Lucky, and everyone wants to be the one to kill him. So you've got to try to do it without anyone seeing you or anything, and without the others stopping you.
That's really
so
fun.
I think that could be a really fun game, like
Lucy's Law.
because I think the I think the board game is fun in and of itself. Although I've never played it, I own so many board games I've never played. I would just want to lean into like the role playing aspect of it and more into the imagination. So yeah, I think that'd be fun.
That would be really. I think you could really do a lot of cool stuff where because I think you just encourage the players from the start. Hey, focus. Don't like immediately focus on the task. Focus on the role play and work stuff out. That would be really fun. I'm trying really hard to think of a board game, and I can't. But I can think of two. I can think of a movie that I'd love to do. I would love to do Gremlins. I've been thinking about this a lot because I was trying to think of an R I could run where like gremlins are involved, but then I thought, wouldn't it be super fun to have the players play as gremlins and their goal is just to fuck shit up? And
we can design our own gremlins.
Yeah, and you just have to go ahead. You'll set loose in a random setting, and your goal is to just fuck shit up and have a good time. I think that would be awesome. I would also love to do wacky races.
That'd be cool.
D&D thing where you just race and come up with cool cars and stuff. I don't know how that would work in a tabletop setting, but
Tom,
fun.
With puppets, you kind of did the board game Alice is Missing, or the kind of TTRPG.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a game.
I want to play that again.
It's so much fun. It's a game where your friend Alice has gone missing, and you're trying to find her. But instead of being able to like talk to each other, you're only allowed to message. Yeah, it's a really good one. We played it with our friend, me and Charlie's friend, Tom's girlfriend Cyan, and it was really good.
I just to put it out there, I would say that she's my girlfriend before she's your guys' friend. Both in terms of length.
I think about me first.
Don't talk about your length, Tom.
My dick is 5 years long. Oh, you know what?
Charlie,
I did just think of a really good board game to make to run as a TTRPG. Hive, which is like chess but with bugs, and also not really that much like chess at all. They just say it's like chess. You kind of just have to make bugs fit together. It's really fun, but the whole goal is basically just to like protect the queen. So it would be really fun to play a TTRPG where your one goal is to protect the queen and stuff like that, but like things get in the way. I don't know how I would structure it once again, but it would be fun because I like Hive. Fun game.
Charlie, do you have one?
I have two.
Go for it.
First one would be Battleship. You guys are on one of the battleships among like a team of other people, and you're just trying to search out your enemy and kill them. A lot of radio contact sort of shit going on. A lot of mystery, search and destroy. What's that, Tom?
Just imagining you have to roll a d20 and be like, B16, and then you go miss. And you just have to keep trying like that.
Game.
Okay, here's part 2 of this. You have 2 DMs running it. You've got people in separate places and they're trying to kill each other.
Shit.
The DMs are working
really
together.
cool.
That'd be really fun.
And Liam Neeson's there for some reason.
No.
Liam Neeson's not in the
invited.
Battleship movie, is he?
Yeah, he is.
What?
Pretty sure.
Are you sure? I'm positive you're wrong.
Would you like to bet on it?
Anyhow.
Yeah,
Hold on.
I will bet you 5 puppet bucks.
Alright, I'm gonna Google it.
I'm Googling it first.
Okay, well then.
Fuck!
Yeah, there it is.
Damn it.
Tom,
He
what do
plays
you say,
Admiral
Charlie?
Shane.
He plays Tazwell Shane.
I think that'd be a really great thing to say instead of an apology every time. Just be like, he plays Shane. He plays Admiral Shane. I'm sorry. Charlie, what was your other game?
Operation, but like you instead of like tweezers from like a top-up kind of thing, you guys are all miniaturized, and the map is the guy's
You're
body.
thinking Magic School Bus.
Yeah, a bit of Magic School Bus in there. But like the map is actual Mr. Operation, whatever his name is.
That's pretty good. I have one more answer to put in. Galapagos, which is a board game where you're trying to survive on a deserted island.
It certainly wouldn't work in D&D. Because your ranger would just cast Goodberry.
And then your wizard would teleport.
Yeah.
Yeah, not D&D, but like a something else. I think that'd be a really fun. That'd be like the worst R ever. You're on a deserted island.
Lost.
Or the best R.
Now it is time to move on to heroes, I think.
Yes.
Unless you want to
I'll
keep
just grab my
riffing
match
about
paper.
board games that you would make into a tabletop.
I just want to say, I think I already said this in Haunt, probably, but the reason I made that character was because I just watched Drunken Monk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
I
think
also
you said
gave
that,
Charlie
Shane.
the hot tip to take 1 level in Fighter, which gave him a D8 punch power.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Not actually that useful in retrospect, because
it
you
was higher
lose a
damage
level of
output.
monk. But yeah,
Alright. Heroes.
the nitty gritty. Should we go through here instead of going episode by episode? Because there's 26 episodes, it's going to take forever. Should we go through like sections, right?
Yeah, because I do have some questions for you guys too.
Let's just do a little pre-chat about how heroes came to be, Charlie.
All right, so I was looking up shit to do for my next season of Season Quest, and I didn't want to do D&D because we'd been pretty D&D heavy, except for Anthology
Yeah.
in total. So I found Masks, and it was like fucking perfect because it was mostly roleplay, like rules light, but like the rules were set really well. And I got really excited, and I started planning the season with my very good friend Nick, who was a guest in Awe. And we got this really nice little concise 12 episode sort of plan together. And I was so excited. It was this fun little twist villain with a bit of setup and a lot of fun other villains that we all sort of brainstormed. And then I think this was before we started, or maybe like after the first episode.
After the first session, I think the same day I messaged you.
Yeah, after we played the first session, which went I think very well. Lucy messaged me, "Do you want to extend it? I've been like thinking about extending one of our Season Quest seasons, and I think Heroes could do very well to be double the length of what you planned." And my immediate thought was, fuck no, fuck that, absolutely fucking not. And then I had a little sleep, and I had some dreams, which people do from time to time. And then I woke up, and I was like, I'm a goofy little hero boy who loves goofy little heroes. I can fit so much more in if I have 24 episodes. So then I was like, fuck yeah, let's do this. I can fit in a beach episode if we do this.
Yeah, I think everyone was really excited for Heroes to be extended because, just like Charlie, I love superheroes, but I think we'd also all made characters that we really liked. Which is kind of a rarity for Season Quest, where we all immediately like our characters and don't hate them. Normally I hate my characters, but sometimes
really
Troy doesn't like his voice.
I guess I didn't like doing Baza because I always felt like I was upsetting everybody with that voice.
I'm someone who usually can take a little while to get into characters that I have made, because I'll usually come up with an idea for a character way before we record. I'll like months in advance I'll plan my character. Like for Cosmos, I had my character in mind when Troy told us that the concept was space stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like awful for that because I'll come up with a cool idea and then I won't go off it even if I'm like not keen on it that much anymore. Which is what happened with Tatzel. And kind of what happened with Oliver as well. But when I do like a character, I love them, like Fissure. So,
Yeah.
Can
Fissure
I
was
just say
fucking
really
awesome.
quickly, Charlie,
Yeah.
I didn't send you a message and then you said you replied the next day. I sent you a message, then 3 days later, I sent you a message saying, hey.
All right,
I
maybe
sent you a message.
it took me a little bit longer than I thought to get on board.
And then you said, maybe I'll answer more tomorrow. I'm just busy at the second. And I went, okay. And then 3 days later.
Okay, it took me
You
a
messaged me.
little bit longer.
It's something Charlie does where if he doesn't have an immediate answer, if he doesn't understand what you've said, instead of asking for more information, he will stop talking to you. Him and I were in a conversation the other night, and I made a joke, and I don't think he understood, and so he just stopped talking to me.
It's interesting because I was trying to talk to Charlie last night, and he deliberately ignored me because he hates me.
I don't hate you.
So,
But I could
no,
probably
I also think it's funny that, I don't know if this was before you messaged Charlie or not, but Lucy also messaged me saying, hey, would you be okay with this being the double season instead of anything else? Because I know you like superheroes, and I was like, yeah, for sure, that would be really fun. And then Lucy said, cool, I'm gonna ask Charlie soon, and I was like, oh yeah, I feel like he's more important to ask than me. I think we were hanging out that day, so
Yeah,
it made sense.
From memory, I had already asked Charlie, but he hadn't replied. Also we had to actively move your season, and you and I talk about Season Quest a lot, Tom.
Yeah, we're little fucking assholes.
We're genuinely just the worst.
I mean, I am glad we moved my season because it gave me time to think about like which system I wanted to use and stuff. Because I was going to use Call of Cthulhu, but I don't think that was the right system. And then I found out about kids on bikes. This isn't about puppets. We shouldn't be talking about puppets. Let's go through our characters real quick.
Yeah, sure thing. Do you want to go first, Tom?
Yeah, I made Fissure, also known as Gino Giudice Jr. Gino Giudice. Yep.
I think you got it right.
I just wanted to play it. I wanted to play a New Yorker. Charlie sent us a message of every member of the six. Mm-hmm. Seven? Six?
Six. 7 is the boys.
The 7 is from the boys, yeah. And my plan for my character was, because I really liked the way that Mars does playbooks, it kind of gives you, like, a broad idea of what your character's, like, thing might be. So my thing was transformed is what I picked. And I looked through all of the 6 to find out which one of them I could be the red-headed stepchild of, and Rift was just like, I had a few ideas. I think I thought about Ice Skate and being like a big ice golem. I thought about I had a few that I talked to Charlie about, but we decided that
I think you
Rift was the coolest
about
one.
Dr. Density too.
And we just like, when I said what my idea for Fissure was, Charlie was like, just do that one. That one's the coolest. He didn't even like. Normally when Charlie normally will be like, oh yeah, that's cool to everything you say, but you know that he really likes something when he says only one of them is cool. When he's like, I don't even give a shit about everything else you just said. I like this idea. So I went with Fissure, and I think that was the best idea too, because like it gave him sort of a personality already where he could be timid without the mask, but with the mask like a bit more confident, which is something I always love in superheroes. That's why I love Spider-Man so much.
Spooderman.
So yeah, and Fissure is, I think, like a really cool power set to have in a TTRPG, because it gives you space to have creative solutions to problems, but also like definitive weaknesses, which I think is really important for a superhero.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love superheroes, just like Charlie. Probably less than Charlie, but like, I read comic books.
Yeah.
Lucy time.
So when I often like basing stuff on something I'm like super into or quite obsessed with. So like Bungo, I was like a wizard and I was excited about that, but I liked the idea of being a womble. So my character for
which is why you were a gnome.
Was as close as I could get to be a little womble.
Yeah.
And then like for Haunt and Spring, I based them on a board game I like, and like Unsolved Mysteries and Cryptids and stuff, which I'm also super into. So that's why I was so excited for Gracie, because like thinking of superpowers, I had a really hard time coming up with Gracie, as I do with like a lot of my characters. I'm so bad at thinking ideas for them, but once I've got something, I'm quite set. So when I landed on having a Magic 8 Ball, I was so fucking excited. I just had to figure out how any of it would work. I knew it would be Magic 8 Ball related, and that's kind of all I had. And then just everything else came after that.
Yeah. I think I remember like helping you out with what your powers might be and stuff like that.
Yeah, we went back and forth a lot on ideas, because there were quite a few different ideas that would go around it. I didn't like the idea of actually being able to tell the future, because that railroads you.
Yeah.
And it railroads us, because you have to force storylines.
Yeah. And
Like,
I did that on my own. I put another future seer in there.
yeah. But your prophecy was quite vague.
Yeah, that's the best way. Little tip for you emergent DMs out there: make up a prophecy, fill it in later, keep it vague.
Another tip for emerging DMs out there: just don't make a fucking prophecy.
No, prophecies are so fun. They're some of the best parts of DMing because you make a vague ass prophecy and then you fill it in later, and your players would be like, "Oh, holy shit! How did you know that would happen?" Not you guys, because you guys know my shtick.
We see fucking through you.
But you can look really smart.
Yeah, I think there's a spell in D&D called Augury where you can ask like your DM a yes or no question, and it will be like the DM has to tell you the information, but they can also just say like maybe or I don't know, because they don't know what's going to happen because it's a role playing situation. Yeah. Which is what you saying the thing about being able to tell the future railroading, Lucy. It just made me think of that. It's like the concept of in a tabletop being able to tell the future makes no sense. That's why every fucking time-related D&D subclass is just like, you can re-roll your dice once per day. Because, like, you can't fucking know what's going to happen. I'll quickly talk about Troy's character, because Troy can't. Troy's character was Snowflake Supreme, also known as...
Chilton.
Christopher Chilton. He'd frozen his boyfriend Wade in ice, and was super powerful, and a little bit silly as well. Big fan of puns.
Yeah.
I think that was the main reason why Troy was happy to go for 26 episodes, because Troy doesn't get to be as punny as Snowflake Supreme was in normal instances. Because superheroes, you're allowed to fucking make terrible puns because you're a superhero. You're a comic book character. But
and there's something with ice heroes and ice villains that, like, it always turns the puns up like 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
If you have ice powers, you're doing puns.
I mean, the fact that people still quote the fucking line from Incredibles where Frozone says, freeze to everyone, like it's the most unique and incredible thing in the world, when all he did was make a very, very, very easy-to-reach ice pun.
Or
it shows.
Everything that Arnold said in the Batman movie.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we've broken down the characters. Let's go on to the first arc, which is like us learning how to be a team and how to be superheroes, because we were already kind of a team beforehand, but we were pretty dysfunctional. But now we've managed to bridge that gap.
The Young Justice, Teen Titans sort of get together and become a team arc.
Yeah.
I didn't realize as Gracie I was gonna be so like take charge, kind of leadery as I was, which is fucking crazy because that's just who I am as a person. Like that's just how I act.
And also it fills in the sort of role of there's always a thing of like the less powered or the non-powered heroes on the team somehow always get like the sort of leadership roles, like Robin on Teen Titans and Batman and Justice League, that sort of shit.
Well, I think it's because they have to behave as a human. And they can't solve all of the problems with powers. They have to kind of think more critically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd also say, because before we started playing, we talked about how, because in Mask, there's like a system where it's like your leader, you get a amount of points based on your leader of the team or whatever, right? And the leader can shift based on like what happens. And we kind of like talked about and went like, well, we probably won't have like a leader because there's only 3 of us. It feels a little weird. But then the moment we started playing, it was really clear that Gracie was the leader, because Snowflake Supreme was like very new blood, very anxious about powers, and Fissure was like fucking like incompetent. Like he had powers and he was able to use them, but he was not like smart or plan capable. He was just sort of like he was just able to do the superheroing stuff.
Yeah. And Gracie had industry experience.
And
yeah,
I was
exactly.
also
Gracie was the CEO of the Freedom Fighters, LLC.
I just get really excited to do stuff. It's in Puppets, we, like, towards the end of it, me and Charlie's characters were arguing. And he was like, you were, like, fucking detective, like, take charge, and I was, in my head, I was like, I didn't mean to be. I just really love doing things. I love solving stuff. I'm the exact same in an escape room.
Lucy's the ideal person to have in a D&D game because you don't have to railroad Lucy. Yeah. Lucy will take... You throw like a fucking hook into the water and Lucy's grabbing that shit. You don't even have to bait it. The hook. You can just say... You could just say fucking, oh yeah, there's this guy in the side of the room, and you say, I go talk to the guy. What does he say?
You say, this is bait, and Lucy's like, I eat it.
You know when you have to, like, capture a cat so you can take it to the vet?
Yeah.
And you put something in, like, a little box. I would be there as you were putting it in. I'm... very, very easy to, like, get to do whatever. And I'm also incredibly gullible, which doesn't help. But I have a lot of fun. The first session of D&D I ever played, I put on a cursed ring because Charlie told me it was there. Like...
I haven't heard the end of it since.
No, because the entire campaign was based on you fucking me, dude. You just...
What? No, okay, hold on. For listeners at home, not literally.
Not literally.
We're not that kind of table.
It was about you ruining Howard Morris's life and my spirit.
Well, it's also because I found a really cool, what's it called? When you mix up the letters and you find a new...
Anagram.
Anagram, is it? Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I think it is.
I don't remember.
Shadow mirror.
I remember you
for
telling
Howard
me
Morris.
that at the time. Oh, yeah. Why? How did you find that?
I don't know. I don't remember.
He used an anagram solver.
Probably that, yeah.
I guarantee you. He probably, the moment he starts any D&D game, he types everyone's name into an anagram solver to see how he can fuck them.
Shh, all my secrets. Emerging DMs.
Or Charlie is also insane, and I would believe that he just fucking, instantly notices anagrams when he reads them. That's the kind of shit that Charlie would do.
I think what it probably was I noticed that the letters, like Shadow, that Howard Morris has a lot of vowels and could probably be an anagram, and then I looked it up.
Do you know what my favorite bit of that interaction then was? Was you being like, yeah, I found an anagram for Shadow Mirror, and I immediately, even though you had already told me, being like, what was it of? My name! I did that at the time as well. I'm very bad with letters.
So let's break down the villains of the first Heroes arc. We'll go up until Eyeball, I guess, here.
Yeah, I was just about to talk about that. Because the villains that you got in the first few episodes were the ones that I had planned with Nick to be, like, at first, really basic, easy to beat villains that throughout the series would get more and more powered up by, like, Lightbulb's plans. And it didn't come through, I think, partly because of the extension and partly because I can't keep on track. But, like, the original plan was, like, some of it came through, like, with Woodchip, for example, where he discovered that if he became a cannibal, he could turn people into wood. Like, that was one of our first planned things. So all those villains were meant to return a lot more.
They did return, and I think they returned an appropriate amount, because any more it would have become, like, boring. You would have been like, oh my god, Charlie, you're just, you can't keep repeating the same villains. But they appeared twice, like, after their first appearance, they had sort of an extra one, where after they appear with the Halo thing, and then they appear after we've learnt the plan. And we can, by then we have a relationship with these villains, and we can sort of use that.
True.
Then we did, and then we went to Storm Drain after we've sort of figured out that they have some sort of team dynamic, and we go to the Storm Drain base, and that was really cool. I teased... That was when I started to really explore my powers.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I teased some of the villains in that sort of villain hideout that those villains, like, didn't really come up, I think.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think we met most of them.
Yeah. I think I just sort of left them on the wayside. Like, some of them were, like, villains that you guys came up with, and, like, I asked each of you to come up with a villain that we would interact with, and I only ended up using Tom's one.
No, you used Troy's one.
What
it just didn't last very long
Right.
because it was Flaming O.
No, Troy's one was Green Man.
Oh, did Troy not come up with Flaming O?
No.
That's crazy. That sounds like such a Troy tier villain.
Troy tier. Did I come up with anything?
Yeah, you came up with, I think it was like the Annuller or something, and he ends friendships.
I remember that. Fun fact, I didn't actually come up with that. I couldn't think of anything, and I was talking about this at work, and one of my coworkers came up with that. And I thought it was really funny. That was the great thing about my last job, is I forced people to talk about D&D with me.
Yeah.
Cyan doesn't take that.
I think
No, me and Cyan just play little games.
Haldini was teased in that little villain alcove, and you guys never interacted with him, I don't think.
One of my favorite villains in concept.
Yeah.
He's so silly.
He ties himself up to turn off the werewolf stuff, but he's an escape artist, so he always escapes.
But that wasn't, he wasn't called Haldini, was he? What was he called before?
There was, I think it was
Because we were the ones who started
calling.
calling him Haldini, and I think you had a worse name for him.
No, I think Haldini was my name for him, and then like there was talk of like calling him Weredini, because instead of who, it's werewolf.
Just really quickly, I have some questions from the Twitter.
Yo.
Okay.
I also just want to say really quickly in the group, something I saw in the group chat that I don't think Charlie's seen is a receipt for Tom sending you $5.
Tom sent me $5.
He lost your battleship bet.
Oh shit. Thanks, Tom.
These are all from I Hate Season Quest, which is an actual Twitter account someone made after the episode of Puppets, where I said someone should make the Twitter. It'd be better if their Twitter account was called I Hate Season Quest, which I think is just really iconic. Here's the first set of questions. What's it like running a game for Tom? How did you know you wanted Tom as one of the main characters instead of the creative genius who runs the game? How do you all decide whose turn it is to comb his mustache?
Jesus Christ.
I'm still trying to crack the code of who I Hate Season Quest is. I think it's Brad, but genuinely I will never know.
I don't think it's Brad.
He just talks like Brad.
I have a
I think
real
it's
answer.
Brad's account to stay in the community without having to actually talk to me.
I have a real answer and a true answer.
Okay.
A real and a true answer?
Yeah. My
I'll just
real
answer the mustache one first. I accidentally... Sorry, that's just the most important question by far. I accidentally shaved my mustache recently, so it's currently growing back. At the moment, no one combs my mustache.
Accidentally?
Charlie? I was shaving and the razor slipped, and I shaved about like a decent chunk off my mustache because I was trying to shave the little nubbin, the little like bits that make it a mutton chop. And I trimmed a little too much off the side, and I went, okay, either I trim it down to like try and make it as even as possible, but then I've got a very short mustache, or I just give up and shave it all. It was that or a Hitler mustache, right? So it's currently coming back, but it's been, I've only been growing it back for a couple weeks, so it's not really there yet.
No.
Charlie?
Rest in peace. My real answer is running sessions for Tom is a fucking nightmare. He is a maniac who will do things that you could never plan for. And most of it is just playing catch up with Tom's crazy fucking brain. And the true answer is I love running for Tom because he's got a maniac brain, and it really helps me develop my skills as a DM. And he understands DMing in a way that when you get like in a place where it's like, oh shit, I don't know what to do next, he's got something to do. He'll bring up a new thing, and you'll be like, oh sweet, we can do that. Fuck yeah.
I do like the way that both of those were your true answer. Because you said the true answer is, and then said that you hate me, and then you said the true answer is that you also like me. So I'm glad that you're as bipolar. I also want to say, in regards to like I don't really necessarily care so much about like having fun a lot of the time, because the thing that's really fun for me is making a cool story. So the first thing in the front of my mind is always to make a cool story. So I'll always if anything slows down and there's not story going on, I'm going to force a story in there somehow. Something relevant. Even if it's tiny, I'll try force it in.
And that's always appreciated from a DMC.
I'm also going to say, just while we're here, I'll go through Lucy and Charlie, what it's like to run for them. Because running for Lucy is exactly what Charlie said, where it's a psychopath who does insane things. But also, Lucy is so crazy that she doesn't even understand when half the crazy shit she does is crazy.
She thinks the stuff she does is normal.
Yeah.
So you'll be like, oh yeah, so this thing happens, and Lucy will go, what if I just like climbed up this tree and then shot a bird, and the bird landed on his head, and you're like, what? And you're like, it makes sense in my head. Okay, you can try it, dude. Sure. And then it works, and you're like, okay, cool, Lucy. An
example from our personal campaign is I was like, yeah, I understand that what is happening is evil, but what if I just went along with it and and I just got hypnotized and it was fine? And Charlie's like, well, okay.
Okay.
It's just fun.
And then running for Charlie is like running for someone who's just so excited to be able to actually play the game that he likes. So he's always going to take any opportunity to use his cool abilities that he has spent hours researching. And then also, he's always going to try and do the thing that either makes the most sense or makes the least sense, but there's never an in-between. So that's Charlie. And then
sounds about right.
Troy is going to just be as chaotic as possible. Troy just loves chaos.
Honestly, he does.
Just be prepared for betrayal with Troy.
Straight up. For me, for running for the guys is very strange because they've both been DMing me for way longer. Charlie's been DMing for me since like 2019, like consistently, and then Tom like on and off, and then in like 2020 a lot of shorter campaigns, and then we've been doing like longer running campaigns and stuff, and you guys, so a lot of what I learnt is from you guys. Which makes it a very strange experience to be on the other side of. But almost all of my DMing has been on mic, and you guys are very good at just being very nice about it and not like letting me railroad as per se, but being like, yes, that we understand this is a story you're telling. Let's tell the story. Which was really nice.
It goes back to the Tom thing, is that Tom just understands story structure, and he's in. He does it.
Well, I think everyone here understands story structure at least a little bit. So let's not just brag about Tom too much, because otherwise you might give I Hate Season Quest he won't have a reason to exist because suddenly Tom's too cool. So we need to make sure that we bully Tom a little bit.
I fucking hate Tom. He's a chaos monster, and his ADHD is very apparent in Season Quest.
Another question from I Hate Season Quest is, do you guys know how good your campaigns are? I'm actually including
That's not from I Hate Season Quest, Lucy.
Yes, it is.
That's from that's from I Hate This. It's a different guy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is the one that likes Charlie.
Okay.
I love you. I hate this. You're a shining star. You made my day, my week, my year, my life. Mwah.
Actually true. Charlie still talks about that with me frequently.
I'm including this because I think we've all got quite intense imposter syndrome when it comes to DMing. Me and Tom especially. We both can kind of only think about the flaws of our seasons. Which is a really strange thing to try to let go of when you know you're going to upload it. There's a weird pressure we've given ourselves by doing this silly little hobby.
Yeah. I've felt that from the beginning of my DMing, and at a certain point, I don't know when, but I just sort of left that aside and have become a confident DM. I still have that feeling of, oh, that wasn't a good session, or oh, I could have done this better. But I try to make sure, it's almost like a sort of fake it till you make it thing. I make sure after each session, I sort of think about what I did good and what I can further on the story because of what I did, and it really fucking helps. If you sit down after a session and be like, that was cool what I did, I'm a good DM. It helps so much. That's my little thing.
How long have you been DMing for, just real quick?
Since 2014, 2015.
Okay, yeah. Because I was going to say the time thing helps.
Yeah, time absolutely helps. I used to plan like for a full fucking week, and through a combination of experience and laziness, I have cut that time down to like planning the day before and still getting like the same quality session.
Yeah, I think that when I get imposter syndrome from D&D, it's easier for me to upload season quest because that's like I'm not the only one who's doing it, so it's not for me. You know what I mean? It's for like you guys, right? So like if I'm not happy with how I DM'd it, that's fine, because it's going to go up because at least you guys had fun and we told jokes and stuff. Which is why it's a lot easier for season quest. But also, I think I'm pretty 50-50 on like feeling terrible about how I DM, because sometimes I'm like so overconfident about how my DMing session went. You know what I mean? Like when I started Autumn, I was really unhappy with it, and then when we finished Autumn, I was really happy with it because I got that like balance down. I think it's a balancing act, you know.
Yeah.
And I also think that there's a lot of points where I really appreciate you guys as players because I'm able to be like, hey, what have I done wrong here? Like what works here? What doesn't work here? What would you guys want to change? In a like recorded session, it's a lot harder to fix those things. But also like in something like Puppets, where it was a mystery and I didn't want you guys to like know a bunch of stuff, it was harder to be like, hey, is this mystery working for you guys? Is this working? But I also like, as a writer, always want to recognize my flaws so that I can improve later on. So,
and that's almost, I think, that's like a good feeling. Like part of the getting your confidence as a DM is being able to look at maybe your mistakes or some things you would have changed and being happy that you can recognize them, because that shows you're getting better. It shows that you understand that that was a flaw of your system and you can improve it next time you go. So it's like when you recognize those things, you are telling yourself, I'm already better than that.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for your question. I hate this.
I'm gonna talk now.
Okay. Oh, sure thing. Obviously. For some reason, in my head, you'd already talked.
For Season Quest, I base how good a session is on how much fun we have. I have always felt that the more fun we have recording, the better the episode is. That's why I wanted to do a double season for Heroes, because I had so much fun in that first session, and I loved us all being superheroes. I have less fun DMing, I think. I find, because I know Charlie's like, yeah, with experience and stuff, you can plan less and it's fine. I'm not very good at thinking on my feet in depth. I can come up with ideas, but I need stuff to fall back on, so I have to plan to a degree. I'm not super intense with planning. If I've got like a roadmap I can follow generally, but I find that very stressful, and then I find DMing very stressful. So I still have fun, but not as much fun. So to me, my seasons don't feel as good because I know I'm not having as much fun. Because when I'm playing a character, I get so invested, I just throw myself into it, and I don't have to think about any of the like numbers stuff, because a lot of it I just know already. Yeah. But yeah, I'm okay with my seasons.
I have a lot of fun in your seasons.
Yeah, me too.
Yay.
Troy?
Oh my god, he's just being quiet. I don't think he had fun. Oh my god, no.
I want to say for like new DMs, and I guess also like DMs who already are like experienced, something that took me a really long time to figure out was like early on in DMing, people always tell you not to overplan, but I think that's a really loose sentiment that doesn't actually mean what they say. So instead of thinking like, oh no, I shouldn't plan too much because if I plan too much, it's all going to get ruined. Plan as much as you want. You can plan like a full book worth of like how things are going to go. Yeah. Just keep in mind like what your players are like and how they're going to move through things. Don't instead of saying don't over prepare or don't over plan, think about it more like don't expect your players to move in the path of your preparation. Keep things in mind, like keep things shifting always. Like you don't need to, just because there's like, oh, this is like a bandit outcrop here, but they don't go to that. You could reuse that later on when they go into a city and they can fight some like no ne'er-do-wells. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be, things can be very fluid. So just keep your like plan's pretty fluid and everything will be good. I usually plan like 4 different main paths, and then if the players go off of any of those main paths, I'll just like slot something in.
Yeah, and that's
or I'll try work something out.
That's I think it's called the quantum troll, where like you plan a encounter with a troll down a specific street. The players don't go down that specific street, but you still have that troll in that encounter. You just slot it in somewhere else. And on a larger scale, at least in my experience, over planning when I started DMing was what got me my world. So it's basically like, instead of planning specific routes, I planned like the background, the world building, the calamities that might happen within the world. And if you do overplan that, then you are able to sort of adapt to the player's whims because you have the background of your world in mind most of the time.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
Like, it's over planning. You have to sort of, in my experience, go more generalized than streamlined, and then you have a world to play with.
It's like when you're writing a story and you know how each character is going to act, right? Or you know how like the world around them is going to function. So you can put these characters in any place within that world, or put anything in any place in that world, and you know how let's say you put like 2 characters that you've written in an escape room, then you know how those 2 characters are going to clash in the escape room because you know how they function. And it's the same with like a world, where it's like if you have like this like haunted forest, right, and things are crazy and paths twist and turn, then once you put anything in that setting, then you know how that world is going to interact with the characters. So I think that's something that's good to keep in mind too, even if it's a little hard to keep track of when you first start, is like keeping things fluid, but also things that like are things that make sense to you as like a world will be a lot easier to improv through. If that makes sense. I don't know if I just rambled about nothing.
That makes sense.
For me, my favorite part of Spring was the bit in Givaudan, because I built it like an open world video game, where I knew generally who was there, I knew what places you could go in it, and I had kind of how those worked, and then I had a basic storyline that was going to happen, but that was only based on time. Whereas like, cool, on the first night this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen in the morning, and that's just like a couple like basic lines of like, this is what the world's doing, and then you guys can move around that.
Fuck yeah.
And then because I liked that so much, that's what I based Haunt on. The idea of the world.
The other thing that made Givaudan really cool was that we were able to like, we knew so much about the space from your description of it and from like what you'd shown us, that we could make individual plans for what we wanted to do. Like I could go and be waiting in someone's place while everyone else goes and explores to look for werewolves, and then when they find them I can run over and try find it, but it's going to take a while.
Yeah,
that was really fun, and that's the sort of stuff that's like, as a GM, it's like nice to have that setting planned.
Yeah,
and there are some things that just like you don't necessarily have to plan down to a T. Like for Givaudan, it's a small town. It has all the things you'd expect in like a medieval small town. And you don't have to be like, cool, this is the tavern, this is everything about it. You're like, there's a tavern. You can just make up a name. It's the Big Octopus. That's what the tavern's called. And you can just come up with whatever if you've got a basic idea. Yeah.
Gone are the days of the classic Gary Gygax, go through a dungeon, go to the next dungeon, keep going through dungeons. It's just a lot more sandboxy nowadays.
Yeah.
Back to Heroes. Then we fought Eyeball after that, which was really cool. That was the villain I came up with after Storm Drain.
So this arc was about us kind of realizing the morality of superheroes.
It was also like our first... this was our split up moment where we sort of like had our personalities clash really well, which I think that couldn't happen in a normal Season Quest season, because like it can, obviously it happens in Autumn, but it can't happen in the way that it happens in Heroes, because we don't have enough time usually to get into those like intricate character moments. But because we had so much time to work with, we were able to have that sort of like time where we could separate and then come back together.
Yeah, it's we did all the things that are my favorite reasons for splitting up. Because, as I've said all the time, I fucking love it when you split up a party, because you get an unfiltered look at who a character is and why they're doing what they're doing. And, like, they're going with, maybe they've got a set of instructions to follow. Like in Winter, when I demanded that we split up the party, we all had to go search an area, and that's all the instructions we gave, and we'll meet back. But then we all got to be our characters without being like, oh, I've got to be this person because it's how it interacts with this character. You just are the character doing a thing.
Yep.
And that's why I love doing it for Heroes, because we split up for so long. We could get in, like, we could really dig into our individual characters.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Charlie is
I also
probably
just
one
like
of the
the
best
chaos.
DMs for when you split the party, because he's someone who can really quickly on the fly come up with individual things that individual characters can do. Because, like,
No.
Charlie was not, I don't think you were expecting, like, me to call, what's he called? What's he called? Nova Corps guy? Starman? Iron Man?
Star Jockey.
Star Jockey, that's it.
Nova Corps man. Yeah.
Well,
That's
Nova Corps
that's
is
a
from
Marvel
Marvel.
character.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't that, but I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Not even the Marvel character he was based off of. It's Iron Man.
No. True. You wouldn't have been expecting me to call Star Jockey, who was like a minor character at that point.
Yeah, Star
then
Jockey
also,
got
like,
so much more coverage than I was prepared for.
I think
We just liked him.
all of the
Yeah.
NPCs, bar Hello and Wade, I think every single NPC got way more screen time than you were expecting.
Absolutely.
That's something about our party. We
Oh.
fucking love an NPC.
Yeah, we sure do. I mean, I think an NPC is just one of the best ways to push a story forward, because if you can get people who like NPCs, they'll want to keep interacting with the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you called Star Jockey.
Yeah.
I called Trick Shot.
Hmm.
Because I wanted to go
And Troy
be
didn't know
a
what he was
detective.
doing yet.
Yeah. I'm on a similar thing with Lucy, where I, as a DM, quite enjoy getting the party split, because it's, like Tom said, I'm gonna brag a little bit here, alright?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can split my brain pretty easily into different storylines, and it's so fun to be able to do that and go back and forth between people and then culminate them all back into the one thing. It's so fun.
I also find you like, when we split the party, you like putting something that this individual character's been trying to deal with right in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Troy's character in Winter, you immediately put someone he's interacted with before in front of him. And like you find the things that it's like, this is what this person's been dealing with. This is an example of how they can try deal with it, which is, you make me like splitting the party more, because it goes into what I like. You get to dig more.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
also makes the characters feel like they're part of the world.
Yeah.
Which is something that even like people who are writing their own stories can struggle to do, where they have people interact with each other. So when you're GMing, it's especially impressive, because it's like, you know, you have to remember things about people's backgrounds that might be relevant and bring that in, which can be really, really hard. Something I still struggle with today, even after like years of DMing.
It's fucking tough.
And yeah. And this is also the other thing about this bit that was really cool, was it was sort of like the individual reactions that our characters had. Because what happened was, for listeners who might not remember, is that Fissure like killed Eyeball in like this sort of like adrenaline fueled moment. And in D&D that's fine, that's normal. But because Masks doesn't really have a thing for death, and superheroes usually don't kill, it sort of led to this like really big rift between our group, where it was like Fissure felt really bad, but was also like mad about the fact that Bankshot was mad at him, because he was like, I'm the one who's feeling guilty here. I'm already feeling like shit, and then you're just making me feel worse. But Bankshot's obviously like, you just killed someone. So it led to these really cool like moments, and I think that's another thing that was great about the Mask system, was it really encouraged
Drama.
like in-depth roleplay through its mechanics. there's like one of my abilities that I have is that I can use Freak to try and comfort or support someone, which is like this cool thing where it's like I'm encouraged to go ahead and be like, my speech is now about, instead of being like I'm you're okay, it's instead more like I'm envious of the fact that of who you are, to try and uplift, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it like led to a lot of interesting stuff like that, and then we got to split up and it was cool. I didn't take a breath throughout the entire thing.
I feel like I didn't use my playbook tons. Like, I didn't use my legacy moves because my moves were so ingrained with who Gracie was already. I didn't think to use the moves because it's just what I was already doing. Like, one of mine is genuinely called Words of the Past, which is you seek guidance from one of your elders or a member of your legacy who I literally had with me at all times, and I don't think I ever used the move because I was already doing it.
I probably should have picked up on that and put that move in.
I should have too.
Yeah.
Well, I think that that's fine, because you, even if you weren't like using the move, you were still sort of, I guess you were using the move as it was intended. You just weren't using it as like mechanically necessarily intended. Like I had Come On Beefquake, and that was just I had a cat. We had a cat.
Yeah.
And so the benefits to that were like mechanical, but also like beyond the mechanics, the cat was a whole thing.
Yeah.
I love Beefquake. He's the best season quest pet.
Oh, truly. Oh, yes. I definitely use my moves and stuff to inform my character more than use them as moves.
Yeah.
And then we came back together.
Yeah.
There was an emergency.
I'm trying to figure out, was it 3-way takedown when we came back together? Someone's suffering from cock and ball torture in that one.
That was exposition, because you saw cock and ball torture on his costume or something.
Yeah. Okay, so
it's
that's
just something you said.
Yeah.
Because what happened was, did we come back together? We didn't come back together until Hallow took the filament.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, after the multi-explosion kind of thing.
Wow, that's crazy.
Me and Trickshot were with exposition as that started to happen. And yeah, that was like, the explosions had already gone off all over the city before we decided to meet at the filament.
Yeah, that was also the first time in that like explosion instance. That was the first time that I'd sort of made a decision with Fissure's character where I started to lean towards the idea that instead of being like a superhero who fights villains, he's a superhero who saves people. Because I realized that when he was like, because he saved I think he saved like a baby out of a burning building or something, right? Like that sort of thing was something that Fissure was really capable of. You know what I mean? Through his powers. So that was really exciting for me when I realized that, because I hadn't thought about it in that way.
Yeah.
I'd only thought about how he would fight. And so it was like almost at the same time as the character, I realized where the character was going.
This is, definitely when I leaned into Gracie's, like, leadership thing. Because it was just, like, immediately giving all of the instructions. Just being like, okay, this is what you're doing, this is what you're doing, this is what you're doing, let's go.
Yeah. And Troy fucking froze everything.
You wanna say anything? Or?
This was when Troy used his moment of truth.
Which was
thinking about it,
crazy.
That's what happened. It was really good. It's
set up a little hint of things to come, of grander things in store.
Something with a campaign of kind of any time, but especially when we record it, we're trying to build up, like, to that final, like, episode or the last 2 episodes or whatever. That last session we record, really. With Heroes being so long, we built up to, like, a couple different things, but it was nice that we all kind of had our big moments, and I think they were really well spaced out.
Yeah.
Troy using his one here was really cool.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And it like really showed how powerful Snowflake Supreme actually was, and how much like worrying was holding them back.
Yeah.
So I think that was fucking rad.
And then we went to the beach.
Well, I also just want to quickly talk about the filament when we fought there, because that was because we fought Hallow there, right?
Yeah.
Taking back the filament the first time was really, really fun.
and like we've done like the filament was really hard for us as like in terms of the characters because we didn't have a lot of the benefits that we would normally have. But it also led to us like getting a lot of information. Like we'd just met Memory Bank, and then we met Patient Hero,
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. And then we fight Hallow, and he's this sort of like unstoppable force for us, right? He's the first like thing where there doesn't seem to be an easy solution. And this is another thing of like using the mechanics of masks to the advantage of the story, where it's like I think I took take a powerful blow, and I had to like leave the battle because of it. So I was like frozen and I was like frozen there for a while, and my head was teleported away, and I got to interact with Bobbin,
Yeah.
who gave us that valuable information to be able to beat him. And that's something that like I think in D&D you couldn't have something like that where it's like you can leave the combat to talk to someone, because D&D is so like combat is so like numbers focused and like focused on like, you know, you have 6 seconds in a turn, whereas masks is like you just do it in order of when it feels appropriate, and you do it like everyone gets to do their cool thing, and then everything's all tied up in a neat bow.
Yeah.
And then I killed Hallow.
Masks wouldn't be as good with like I think a pretty big group, because for D&D would sometimes have like 6 people playing, and then a DM as well. I think that would be really difficult to do in masks. But you also want a group that's really good at waiting their turn, and we're very good at that because we've been recording for so long, and we let everyone say their thing, and so we're kind of already trained in a way to do that.
Yeah.
Also, with combat with masks, I really like it because I get to play it like how I play a wizard in D&D, which is just be a silly little guy and come up with weird little solutions. I just get to do that.
Yeah, I love that aspect to it. It's so fun. Like coming up with all the ways that I mean, to jump ahead a little bit, all the ways that Cole could interact with the world was like probably the most fun I've had in a tabletop game ever, because it was like great. I was just coming up with things on the fly, and Charlie was being like, yeah, you can, of course you can do that. That makes sense. This is how you've set up the character. I also think that recently we played the Avatar TTRPG, Avatar Legends, which is a fun TTRPG and cool because it's Avatar, and we were excited to play it, and we played it with a pretty big group. But I did
9 of us revolving.
Yeah. But I would also say the reason why I preferred Masks to Avatar, even though they're a very similar system, it's both made by Magpie, both powered by the Apocalypse. Mask doesn't have like a system where it's like you have health and you have damage and you have to roll damage. But Avatar Legends has like a combat system. It's not super intricate, but it's enough to like make it so that the moves like instead of it becomes like D&D, where it's like you just say I hit, but because it's not as there's not as much meat to it as D&D is, it's a lot more boring and it's a lot less descriptive. So after playing it for a while, and after we played Mars, because we played both of them around the same time, I think we started Avatar a little bit before, maybe after, I don't remember which one. After playing Masks for a while, I realized that the most fun part about Masks combat was how like it was all about description and doing cool things and just letting the players do cool stuff. So I just took Masks rule and applied it to Avatar, and it became an infinitely more fun system for me.
Fuck yeah.
So if you're not enjoying Avatar Legends because of that, then try out using some of Masks' combat system. Just like
do it the master.
Take a powerful blow and do cool things. Before we go to the beach, I have a question from Cyan. If you guys could have a superpower, what would it be?
Teleport.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Rift,
aside from...
I made Rift like when I was fucking 8 because it's my favorite superpower.
Okay, aside from the big, like, the major ones, like teleportation, flying, and super speed, those, like, transport ones, what superpower would you have?
I guess, I don't know if it's a superpower because it's, to a degree, just real. Like, photographic / eidetic memory would be really nice.
That would be great.
Because I'm very forgetful. Although, there's also a point where it isn't, because I did read about someone who has, like, really intense photographic memories to the point of she remembers being, like, in the womb. And
Yeah.
it sounds crazy and untrue, but it's like after years and years of testing by the experts who know about this, it was found to be entirely true. And she remembers basically everything that's ever happened to her, which is really scary, and she has a really hard time with it because all of the awful memories just stick around.
Yeah,
Yeah, imagine
so
if you'd
maybe not.
remember like the time that you saw your friend pick their butthole or something, and then you'd just be stuck with that
or
in
just
your head
you
forever.
have you have the memory of yourself sucking on your mom's boobs.
Why would you say that?
That'd be a bad thing to remember, I think.
Yeah, it would be a bad thing to remember.
So yeah, I've changed my mind since I started my sentence.
Fair enough. I have a couple good options for me.
Yeah, go for it.
If you want. Okay, because I think about this all the time. Like, if a genie came up to me and asked me to, like, I have 3 wishes, then I would think about, like, I think a lot about, like, which power I would choose for my 3 wish. I would love the ability to phase through objects. I think is a really fun power that, like, it's not super crazy, amazing, powerful, but, like, I don't think you could beat a superhero who could phase through objects, because if you got shot or punched, you can just phase through it. So that would be my, if I was a superhero and I couldn't be, like, a teleporter or a super speeder, that would probably be the power I'd go with. But if it was just a power to, like, generally be fun and help me in life, I would love the ability to do perfect impressions no matter what. Like, I would go on New Zealand's Got Talent, and I would do impressions of all the judges and stuff like that, and I would become the Bugs Bunny voice actor and the Mickey Mouse voice actor, and I'd get paid millions and millions of dollars to be able to do fun voices all the time. So those are my 2 options.
I think I've got 2 options too that aren't the main ones, and they're off of 2 of my favorite DC heroes. One of them being Green Lantern. Like, just being able to make hard light constructs is, like, the convenience of it in your day-to-day is so fucking nice. And then you can also just make yourself a hard hitter as well if you need to fight people. But, like, I wouldn't focus on fighting. I would make, like, a slide out of my apartment so that I could get to the street quicker and shit like that.
Make a sandwich.
Make a sandwich, eat sandwich. And then
Yeah.
the other one is Plastic Man. He shapeshifts and he's stretchy, and he has, like, complete control over his shape, and, like, he could, like, one of the things is he just turns his hand into a coffee mug and makes it, like, heat proof and just has coffee. It's just really cool. He's got,
It would be
like,
fun.
you can be so creative with Plastic Man's powers.
I like holding mugs too much for that.
Charlie hates the inconvenience. Wish I could just sip coffee out of my hands.
Yeah.
If I had to go for, like, just, like, a fun one, like, waterbending, I think would be really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And if I, like, I don't know if this is a superpower, I would want a superpower level of this, which would be, like, be really good at learning stuff. Like, be quick at picking up skills, and, like, absorbing information and actually being able to, like, act on that, because I'm not very good at learning in general.
Taskmaster.
Yeah, that's a character.
Taskmaster would be my... Oh, is that an actual... Huh?
Yeah. He's a guy with a skull for a head, and he can learn how to do things just by looking at them. He's kind of a fucking nerd, but, like, he's pretty chill.
That's exciting. I want that. I got really confused because I thought you were just naming the show I like.
It's really funny because I knew about Taskmaster before I watched the show, and I remember it wasn't you, Lucy, but somebody was talking to me about Taskmaster before I knew what it was, and I was assuming they were like, "Have you seen the Taskmaster show?" And I was like, "They made a show about Taskmaster, the guy who just learns things? What the fuck?"
He's a villain, by the way.
He's not always a villain. He's a mercenary. He does anything for hire. He can be a good guy
And then we went to the
sometimes.
beach.
And then we went to the beach.
And this next arc was us finding out the kind of seedy underbelly.
Yeah.
Getting deeper into what was actually going on.
I have a question for you guys. At what point did you start to suspect Lightbulb as being the big bad?
Immediately, like straight
From
away.
the start?
Well,
Fair.
like pretty much from the moment like you introduced a concept of like this sort of Jarvis figure that was like really all powerful AI, I was like, this could be a bad guy.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it was a very light suspicion until around the beach episode. Well, actually, I think I talked to you about Lightbulb being a villain, and I saw a glint in your eye, and I went, oh yeah, he's probably a bad guy. So, yeah.
I started suspecting when you told us that he was a villain. I'm
The
very
two
gullible.
types of players here.
Yeah, I genuinely, when we searched Exposition's house and we found out Lightbulb had contacted him, that was when I was like, really? I'm very easy to mislead, and I'm very easy to lie to.
I think I can also just sort of read Charlie's mind and vice versa. So
Yeah.
Charlie knows all of my villains before I do anything, and then I know all of Charlie's villains.
Yeah.
I
Charlie
knew
just
Hallow was a
knows-
bad guy the moment he showed up.
Charlie just knows when I'm lying, which is really, really frustrating.
Sometimes I'll pitch Charlie an idea, and Charlie will be like, maybe. And then he does it, and I'm like, did you use it because of me? And he went, no, I was already thinking about it. You just said it. And then I felt like I was like worried you'd think I was copying you.
No, I remember, I don't remember exactly what it was, but that happened in Heroes where you suggested something and I was like, I'm already doing that.
Was
in
it Cole?
real life, I know what Charlie's thinking a lot of the time. I find you very easy to read in real life, but when we're playing games, I have no fucking clue. Also, that episode has the best name of any episode ever, which was this episode was recorded before Wordle was bought by the New York Times.
Such a good title.
Rest in peace.
I think it was good to... I think the beach episode was good because it was sort of a break, but also we got a lot of good character stuff in there and good story stuff in there.
And a prophecy. Yeah.
And so that was really cool. And then we got to go and break into Exposition's house, or Darren Dirth's house, and learn a bunch of information. And I got to make a brand new friend in...
The neighbor.
Jimmy? Oh,
His name was Tom, I think.
Yeah. Where you
from
just talked
here-
about superhero shit and politics.
And potato salad.
And potato salad.
From here, we went into the time warp stuff and meeting Wade. The 1 hour, the 45-minute loop, I think, is really funny.
Yeah, there's a great moment in the episode where I decide that, yes, this will be the time loop spot. And Lucy sees it on my face, and she says, you just nodded to yourself and wrote something down, and I'm terrified.
Yeah.
It's also when Fissure disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, can I say, that's what I mean, where I don't know what Charlie's about to do, but I understand him as a human being. That's exactly what I meant.
Because I talked to Charlie for a while about how I wanted to play two different superheroes. Because I've always, ever since I was grown up, I've had this idea ever since I was growing up, I've had this idea for a superhero, which is like an alien sort of metallic thing that gives, and it would land in a person and give them a suit of armor. And so I just destroyed the middleman and made the alien the middle guy. And I wanted to do that for, I told Charlie about the idea for that and how I wanted that to come up probably around 6 episodes in. And so Charlie put the meteor in there, which was I was really worried that nobody would want to grab the meteor. And then we brought it back to our base, and that was, and that would be Cobalt Copper once Fissure disappeared. So just after when we get back to the thing and we're talking to Patient Hero, Charlie pulls me aside, takes me out of the room that we were recording in, and he goes, hey Tom, do you want to go now? And I was like, pardon? And he goes, is now a good time to get rid of Fissure? And I go, oh, I guess so. And so it just happens, and it was great. Because I was semi expecting it, but also not really.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
Yeah, it was. I think
Very
it was
rad.
a good opportunity because you had just gotten your little spatial gem put inside of you to fix you up from when Rift showed up.
The two things I miss the most about recording in person is how much easier it is to edit and being able to have a side conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
Shall we talk quickly about Cole?
Yeah, Cobalt Copper was awesome. I think that, like, because I just wanted to play Cobalt for a while, but I didn't he wasn't my first thought that I thought of when I was, like, coming up with characters. And I also think he worked better as, like, a very short-term character, like someone who would just show up and be very powerful and do a lot of cool stuff. And it was really fun to be an alien. So yeah, I kind of just was, like, excited about it. Everyone called him Cole because Lucy thought that Cobalt was spelt with an L.
It is spelled with an L, but not at... Yeah.
Not the right place. It's not Cobalt.
I mean, it's so great that everyone went along with it.
And it was a great intro for him figuring time shit.
And it was also great because it
Whole
meant that
century.
I could figure out, like, all of the powers that he would have and how he would, like, work within the world pretty quickly. He is kind of, like, too strong. Like, he doesn't...
Yeah,
Like, he had a... What was his weakness? Was his weakness...
Magnets.
Magnets? Yeah. So he wasn't... He had a weakness, which was pretty easy to, like, manipulate. But aside from that, he wasn't, like, a weak character. His main weakness was, like, lack of charisma and understanding of human things.
Yeah. He kind of had the Superman thing going on where everybody, for some reason, has access to kryptonite as easily as with magnets. But, like, Superman's still a powerhouse on his own.
Yeah.
So...
And it meant I could save Wade, which Charlie was pissed about. Ruined his whole life.
Yeah, I wasn't pissed, but I wasn't prepared to get Wade out that early. But it's one of those things where, as a DM, like, there's a point where you can't argue against it because your players are making really good points, and it adds to the story because now there's this whole fucking new thread that you have to go through.
Cobalt said, I could get him out, and then Charlie went, fuck, why did he fucking say that? This motherfucker.
Now, it helped with the, what's it called?
Pacing.
The prophecy and pacing.
Sure. True.
I think us saving Wade is the best superhero thing we did.
Yeah, it was a all-together team effort. It was really beautiful.
The next arc was us going underground.
Yeah.
We went to the pool league.
Yeah.
And everyone together. I was glad we could go to the pool league.
Yeah, a little bit about that. So I talked earlier about how you have to look back on your sessions and recognize what you liked that you did and recognize what you didn't like. My greatest regret of Heroes was giving you guys that opportunity to talk about Lightbulb in private without a way of Lightbulb knowing, and then immediately having Lightbulb figure it out. I think that was quite cruel of me. Yeah, so that was one of the things I looked back on and was like, I probably should have given them more space in between them talking about Lightbulb being evil and Lightbulb just being like, okay, you guys know, so fuck off.
I don't know how you would have done that, though.
I also think it made sense because Lightbulb is, like, this all-powerful sort of, like, all-knowing sort of thing, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's
it really enhanced the fact that Lightbulb was well ahead of us.
Yeah, that's how I felt in session, where I was, like, thinking, while I was doing that, I was like, at this point, Lightbulb has enough information to figure out what just happened. So that's why I went through with it, and was happy moving that along, but, like, I don't know how I would have done it differently, but that was just one of the things I looked back on, and I was like, that was quite cruel. But, like, it did make sense to me, so that's why I kept going with it, and that's why I did it at the time.
I think we also, as players, actively made the choice to prioritize getting Wade back over keeping a secret from Lightbulb.
True, yeah. That definitely played into it.
I think this is a good time for a question from Dusty from the Fate of Eisen Discord, because I'm part of that, because I'm their favourite. How do players deviate from your plans, and how do you plan for deviation? Which kind of goes well with the question from Twitter that we had from I Shot Twitter. Sorry.
From I hate this.
Yes. Which was, how tightly planned do you usually go in writing? Which we've kind of talked about already.
Yeah. I'll take this one first. When I started DMing, I planned, I would plan out the adventure just sort of step by step. You fight this guy, he tells you information about the next villain, that villain, you go and find them through a series of clues, all that, and it didn't work. There was a lot of times where I was just lost because humans don't do exactly what you think they will. So my planning method has changed to still planning. Basically, you plan for the calamities, you plan for conflict, and then you can sort of have a think about what the results will be on either side of this conflict. But it's most important to plan, in my mind, for the conflict that the heroes are going to be going against, and then it's up to them how they solve that conflict. For example, the time loop. I planned that the conflict is this time loop. I planned a few things around it. I knew that Star Jockey would figure out, hey, this is a great time to talk about Lightbulb. I planned that the time loop itself is based around Century Man gaining powers in a new universe, and then I left it up to you guys to do what you wanted with it, and that ended up with Wade being freed, which, I couldn't have planned for that. That's what happened, and then we go forward from there. So I guess my advice is plan the specific conflicts and then ride off of that.
If you're finding, as a DM, your players aren't going with the story, it's because their characters wouldn't, I feel like, is a big one. For, because a lot of stories in D&D are like, you go to a tavern, you get offered a job, which is to, go do this or whatever for money.
Yeah.
But
the rats.
Unless you want money as a character, it's not a really enticing thing. So that's why for Tom's it did start with that. This is your job to go do this for money, and then we changed it based on our morals. And then that was kind of part of the point and of the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're worried that your character, your players are doing stuff super, super different, it's because the, enticing thing isn't enticing enough.
Yeah. I'd also recommend just, communicating with your players about what it is that you, what it is that they want out of the story. Because, beforehand, you need to be sure to, I think a session 0 is always good. We usually do not do a session 0, but we will do, very scattered conversations about what's going to happen. We won't do, a specific session 0. We did one for Haunt, we did one for Heroes. I think we managed to do one for Puppets, but we haven't done one for Cosmos because we just haven't had the time. But we know a lot about what's going to happen and, what our characters are and stuff like that. Not what's going to happen, what's going to, what to sort of, expect. So it's good to set your players up and be this is the sort of way that it's going to start out. This is how your characters, this is what the general gist of the story will be, so that players can build their characters around that. And then also, once you've figured out what your players' characters are, it's good to sort of work out why they would be invested, because no one's going to be invested just because of money or whatever. There needs to be an extra level there. So for instance, in Autumn, the way that I sort of pitched it to the gang was saying, you guys are all you all want to be adventurers, so you're at an adventuring fair trying to become adventurers. And then from there I set up, I put them against Petites Magno really intentionally to be this is where I'm going to find out where the players lie, where their goals will lie. Is it more to do with money? Is it more to do with this or that or that? So I usually will have a point in my story, not always, but usually I'll have a point in the story where I'll have a character say this is what you should be doing, but it's a suggestion more than a rule sort of thing, if that makes sense.
I think there's something really fun about Heroes as well. There's something kind of already planned, is we're all superheroes. We automatically have a moral compass.
Yeah.
Because for something like Summer, all we knew we were the first humans, and that's all we really knew beforehand. So that was real fun because we all had really different moral compasses. But it was, I guess it's all interesting how many different character dynamics we've had for 4 people.
Yeah.
Because it will always depend on the little bit of information you're given first. So for Heroes, all we were given was the 3 of you work together as a little ragtag superhero team, and the big 6 are leaving, and that's all we knew.
with Heroes, like it was like such an easy job as a DM to get you guys like on board with what was happening, just because like all I had to do with that pre-established like you guys are superheroes is throw a different villain out. And like in a usual D&D world, like if some guy just ran into town and started like blasting fireballs, the characters would have to like justify why they're helping out. Like, yeah, maybe I'm an adventurer and I want to help out this town, but like with Heroes, it's just like, oh no, this is our job and we're on board immediately. So that was fun and easy.
I guess this kind of goes into another question, also from I Hate This, which was, how much do the players know before/during the arc? Because there's always stuff that surprises me when it comes up or is referenced back. For Puppets, all we knew, like, because Puppets is a mystery, there's a lot of twists and turns. All we knew was we work on a kids show as puppets and someone goes missing.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Well, there's some character background stuff that Kids on Bikes sort of got us to establish.
Oh, for our inner dynamic, yeah.
Yeah, so that we knew that we had some history together. Like there was some of the questions were like, how is this character involved with your greatest day? And you'd have to like answer that together so that you could establish some like rapport and character dynamics. And then from that,
which is really cool.
Yeah, it builds off of that. So like when I plan with characters, when I'm DMing, I ask them like what their character's goal is, like what they're kind of about, and like sort of background history, so that they will know things about the world, about like its history, about the people that are in there, and those, a lot of them become secrets, like their history with a specific character, and you can like pull that out, but they never know what's going to happen. So they know what they want to do, but they don't know what will occur.
I think the most any of us have ever known about what's going to happen in a campaign is probably spring and winter, because winter, the goal was to go and find winter, and spring, the goal was to go and find someone to ask about the book they have. So for both of those seasons, because of how we tell stories, all of us are aware that we're going to get to winter, and we're going to get to where the person is to talk about this book. But we don't know how any of that works. We just know the destination.
Yeah.
But we don't know the journey or what actually that entails.
Since that was our first couple seasons, we were a lot more like, we wanted to be a bit more
classic,
and we wanted to go along with what the DM, we didn't want to trip the DM up too much, because I think we didn't want to like make things feel too disruptive. And then as time's gone on, we've become more comfortable with how we can disrupt each other. It like does really depend on what the campaign is, because like sometimes I would say when I'm DMing, I will usually communicate with players like individual bits of information over the course of the thing to try and like get them to like, you would know this, but everyone else wouldn't. So that would be like some stuff that would come up a lot. It's mostly, I would say, to do, like Charlie said, it's to do with like individual character background stuff. It's not to do with the wider story, because that's good to keep as a surprise. But like for Autumn, I told Troy a lot of the details about like his like relationship towards Bowtie's dad, but not like enough for it to be super clear. And so it just gave Duggan that drive towards like how Duggan might react to new episodes Friday. And that's the sort of stuff that I think is good to share with your players.
All of the story and all of like the twists and surprises we don't know about.
There'll also be times when a character or a player will maybe want to try out a different character, and it's something that you talk about completely first so that they're comfortable leaving their other character behind. Like maybe a character will die in combat and you can't plan for that, but if you don't take a character outside of combat without discussing it first, and that's some of the surprises that a character will know about, because Tom knew that Fissure was going to disappear at some point, so he had that background, but that's because we talked about it together and he was comfortable with that.
A lot of it is on the DM plan, like being able to plan around what the players are doing and like keep in mind the things that they wanted, the twists and turns they wanted to happen. Like when Fissure, when Cobalt died, which we're getting up to in a second, that was something where me and Charlie had talked about potential ideas for it, but hadn't discussed anything specific. So it was just when the moment felt right, that's when it happened. I don't know how much Charlie like thought that would be the case. It was just sort of a thing of like we wanted to, you know, it's good to sort of like
give him a good send off.
Yeah, it's good to discuss with your like DM and discuss with your players what sort of like ideas you think will work well. Because if you just spring on a player like, oh, suddenly you meet a deity who offers you a level as a warlock, and the player's not expecting that, they're just going to be like, I don't know, maybe, I guess, and then that's like that's you taking control of the player instead of and it removes a lot of player agency. So it's good to just keep chatting to each other about stuff, but keep things like, you know, we keep things pretty vague.
Keep things secret.
Yeah.
I love being surprised in D&D and stuff, which is very convenient because it's very easy to do.
I'm awful at keeping secrets between the four of us. Like I will always, if I have a cool character thing idea, I'll tell Charlie about it, I'll tell Lucy about it, I'll tell Troy about it, each of them individually, and I'll be like, I shouldn't be telling you this because it's like kind of special to this, but like this cool idea, because I'm a psychopath and I can't keep secrets. Probably an ADHD thing.
I had a similar thing the other day where I just wanted to tell everybody and show everybody about this really cute photo of Orinoco. That's my equivalent. So we went underground.
Beefquakes Lost Days.
Great name for an episode.
So true.
And we're planning our uprising to fight back and stuff. This was all so odd because it's really hard to come up with a plan in D&D. Like, to be like, generally, this is kind of, we know we want to get into the filament. These are some of the things we can do, but because it's a game of imagination, it's a little hard when you don't have things in front of you to like work off. It's like if I told you to solve an escape room, but I didn't tell you what the room was.
Yeah. And also because your GM is there, they know your plan they know everything about your plan as well and can do everything they want to stop your plan and disrupt it.
Yeah. So I was just like, this is the vague plan, let's go. But that doesn't work for Gracie's character, which I thought was really funny. Like, Gracie would come up with a, like, quite intense plan before we got there, but Lucy was like, I don't fucking know. Like, that's one of the difficult things about playing someone like Gracie or playing, like, a really clever character, is I'm like, I don't have these ideas beforehand. I'll come up with something in the moment, but I can't plan ahead. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I also can't work out puzzles.
We had our body swap in this section.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I forgot about that.
I got really mad at Charlie because we set up that within the lore of the world that the collars didn't work on me because I was an alien, but suddenly they were powers when it came to this body swap thing. Isn't that interesting?
I did switch it for that.
Charlie's gonna get fired. That's a fact.
I in that regard, I did know that he had already set it up that it's not powers, it's just based on your alien makeup, but it was also too fun to not do, so I said fuck it.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
That's a good rule of thumb for DMs for like slightly bending the rules for something.
Yeah. If
it is gonna have your players have more fun, yes, bend the rules. It's fine.
And I had a lot of fun to use Bankshot's powers because I love Nightwing is my favorite DC character. Not Batman, Nightwing. Because I love those gadgety no power motherfuckers, but Nightwing's just appealing to me. Yeah. And Gracie's similar to like Robin and Nightwing and Batman, as we've already said, where it's like a lot of gadgets. So it was really fun to be like, I do this with this gadget and stuff like that. I was really excited about it. That was just rad. Yeah.
And then we took back the filament.
Well, you just skipped like the entire everything.
Yeah, you had a scuffle with Red Mantis where you were like quipping at each other.
Guys,
that was fun.
Guys, we skipped the fact that Cobalt died. and then Fissure came back. There's 8 episodes between Freaky Friday Fuck and us taking back the filament.
It was a long
Just
season.
really quickly with Freaky Friday Fuck, this was the beginning of me being like, wait, we can name our episodes anything? Because there was early on, I wanted to name some of the titles like something fuck. Shitty Little Maths Nerd, I think, was something I wanted to do for a title, but I didn't feel comfortable doing it. I'm really glad I've branched out on titles, and I'm like, whatever, I don't give a shit. This is only a hobby. I don't care.
In winter, I was like, we should name this one "Welcome to the Box, Motherfuckers," and we settled on Mother Frosters.
Yeah, I didn't let
still
you.
Early.
I want to talk quickly about Cobalt's death and how that was really cool for me, because it was going to be Star Jockey's big sacrifice play.
Yeah.
But that was like, in that moment, I was like, oh shit, this is perfect. I was like, why wouldn't Cobalt do it? Because Cobalt can tell everyone that he'll survive, or they'll survive, sorry. But also, Cobalt Copper was like trying to find humanity throughout the entire thing, trying to be like more human. And so what's more human than dying?
Yeah.
So...
And you made Cobalt, like, because of that part of the overarching prophecy as well, stars exploding.
It was great. And it let me bring Fissure back.
Yeah.
With my moment of truth. This was like, when we were recording this, me and Lucy were constantly talking about how much fun this was and how like excited we were. Because it was so rad to do all of these cool superhero things back to back.
Yeah. I really didn't let up for a while and knew shit.
It's good though, you don't have infinite time. Don't let up.
Yeah.
That fight with Red Mantis was also really fun, because it was really difficult. That was definitely the most difficult fight I think we did the entire season. And also, something I'd been talking to Charlie about was, it's difficult to find Gracie's weakness, because she doesn't have superpowers, so there isn't like the super equivalent. Like, obviously ice and fire, and then there's like this like metal thing is magnets, and mine's like, I can throw things. I guess my fucking weakness is a shield. I don't know, but it was, Charlie found the thing, which was the weakness that like a lot of my characters have, was like the moral thing. You're like, okay, your weakness is your friends. The weakness is that is your priority, and I'm like, that works. That's good. You've got me.
Gracie's a reverse anime character. I really liked the big fight with Red Mantis, but I do think, for me, my favorite fight was against Rift in the Filament.
That was such a fun fight.
Getting to fight the Six was really cool. Like, I think the like final moments, right, where we're like in the Filament and we're fighting the Six, and then we have these reveals, and that's all so dope, because it shows a strong point of all of our characters, and then we also get to like sort of reveal the plot details that have been building up, like all of this stuff with Trick Shot and the magic and stuff like that, all culminated right there, and it was really good. And then we blew it all up. And I know Charlie was disappointed that Lightbulb didn't fight.
Yeah.
But I think it was better that way, because he was always more of a brain guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it works. And part of that fight with the Six was me trying to show that, like, you know, fighting them head on, you're probably not going to win. They've been doing this so much longer than you. But you can get around it with, like, the other stuff you've been learning throughout the journey, like the information you have, the way you talk to people, the morals and the reality of the world kind of stuff. And that's kind of how you got through it.
I still brag to people about the thing I said to my dad.
That's really cool.
I think that's my favorite thing I've ever said in D&D. My favorite D&D moment is just like, because it's like, it's really hard when you're playing a tabletop, because it's improv, to make emotional moments feel like actually emotional, or to be serious in any moment, because you like, anytime you do it, if you fuck it up, it just becomes like a joke, and then you're worried about that happening, you know? And so you really have to like choose your battles. And I think that felt so good, because it was like, it just made sense for Fissure to say that to Rift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
I think also that's really good, because one of my favorite things about doing Season Quest is we all take this quite seriously. Like, genuinely, we only do this as a hobby. We do this because we all enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
And then, but when we want to do like really serious stuff with characters, like I would never have done this with our personal campaigns. I would never have like, because like I had a similar thing with Gracie dating Trickshot. I had a NPC that I loved in a different campaign, and I was never like serious. I was just always like, this fucking guy rules. If any of you hurt him, I'll kill you. And that's about as serious I can get with that. But this being like, yeah, no, like you can be more serious with these characters. You can have your fight with your dad. We'll all listen to you and do this seriously because it's more fun storytelling.
Yeah, fuck
Yeah.
It's really nice that we can just like earnestly do this and like we're not like making fun of each other or anything. It's just fun.
Yeah, I think we started setting that up around even like winter with like Thorkel and Thorfinn, which was like
Yeah.
I tried to do that sort of like, because when we play D&D with all our friends, it's not necessarily the same as when we play Season Quest, where it's like story focused. It's a lot more chill and stuff like that. But I've always tried to do stuff like that. I remember like my first character I played with Charlie's campaign, I was playing Garfield. And
yeah, that's how serious we took that other campaign.
He had this like thing where he was like really confident, cocky, and stuff like that. And he was just a fun character. But at one point, like he almost died. He like went to death saves from losing a fight. And I wanted to make him sort of like have a moment where he like have an arc, a mini arc where he was not confident, didn't want to fight anymore, and he was like scared. But because we're playing with friends, it didn't work. Everyone, it just had to get dragged out of that. And I think in Season Quest, I would have that opportunity to be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, Charlie, with Heroes, you did something with Trickshot that I think is so cool, and I've never really thought about it until now. You gave him, like, he lived his own personal campaign.
Yeah.
Like,
he was on a journey.
He had his own arc of, like, joined a team, fought villains, got dragged on a mini adventure with his friend, got hurt in a big fight, got some magics, like super cool magic powers, got dragged again by this friend, and then like it was in the big final fight, and then joined the Six. Like that's an entire fucking arc for an NPC, which I think's really cool.
Just want to say, yeah, he got injured in a fight, but it was because Lucy stabbed him, not because someone else hurt him. So.
He got injured in a fight, and we don't have to say anything else.
It was the same with Star Jockey. Star Jockey had a whole arc too. He was a asshole who, like, kind of like a douchebag who we didn't get along with, and then
started out douchebaggy.
And then
so did Trickshot.
He communicated with Fissure, and like both of them started to realize that there might be more going on, so he started to get invested and like started helping us out more, and then he gave up his armor and had to become just like a guy in a chair, which is like I think was really cool. Like that was a really cool little arc for him.
Yeah. It was a lot of
fun. He was a grown up, but
side characters through that sort of shit.
He learnt from us.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I think the kids are the ones that are teaching me.
Do we have anything more to say about Heroes?
I wish that I had given Civilian more time to talk to y'all. That was one of my other regrets. But yeah, maybe when we do like a
spin-off.
What's it called? A spin-off. We can have Civilian in there more, because he's one of my favorite concepts that I've done that I just like haven't given myself time to explore his power set or his character or anything.
I love that we get to do an epilogue at the end, because that's not what TTRPGs usually are. Like, maybe if you finish a campaign, you're like, there's an end of a story, but we give, like, we round out the story quite well, which I really like doing. Which, it wasn't like a question, but I was talking to Dusty about this, like, not having a character, because we're looking at this, like, asking a bunch of questions about TTRPGs. And it's like, what characters do you currently have, and what are they going through? And I was like, I don't have any characters at the second. Because we just finished Puppets, we haven't started Cosmos, we typically do one-shots, and we've had to stop our personal campaign because Charlie doesn't live in the same city as us anymore.
The bastard.
But having epilogues makes it easier to stop playing characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I love playing Gracie and Bowtie and Bungo and everybody, but having this is what they carried on to do is really nice.
It's also great because it means that you can like finish their arcs that you didn't have time for in the actual thing. Like I didn't have time, or it wouldn't have really worked with the way that we were running the system. I wouldn't have had time to make Fissure start doing this like fireman thing where he like just goes and saves people. So it's good to have the epilogue so I can say like this is what Fissure starts doing. And you can also have like these really somber moments, like when with Troy going and dropping off Cobalt's rock on his planet. That was really great. Like that's something that you can only like. It's something that we get from the epilogues really well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and we did a cool little kind of Zuko thing where it was like, Mom's still alive. We have to go find her.
Yeah.
With Troy,
Which is going to be the Christmas
Tom,
spin-off.
you had a quiz.
I do have a question. It might be kind of a repeat, so feel free to cut it, Lucy. But the question is, how do you guys make characters, and is it a very collaborative process?
Generally, it's not collaborative. We will all have our own individual characters, and then together we'll come up with how we know each other in some way. That's usually, again, influenced by the DM being like, this is the very beginning of the story. So for puppets and heroes, we all knew each other because we had already been working together. But then for something like Cosmos that we're doing, we can kind of pick how much we know each other. Or for Spring, we didn't really know, like you guys didn't really know each other.
Yeah. I'd say that like one thing that we've actively started trying to do is sort of build the history with characters and think about dynamics before we play, so that we don't get like situations where one player gets like sort of shunted. Because in Summer, Charlie and I, my character was like this regal royal guy, and Charlie was the like visor who was trying to manipulate me and stuff like that, which meant that our characters meshed really well together, and they had a really clear path. But that meant that Aurelia didn't necessarily fit as well into the dynamic, which led to points where Aurelia would get like pushed aside a little bit, which isn't like good, especially when you're trying to do stuff like that. So that's something that we've actively tried to do since then, is figure out connections beforehand, at least like basic ones.
That was also a specific situation of your guys' characters meshed real well, but also you both had characters that wouldn't like Aurelia.
True. Yeah.
You both had characters that wouldn't want to listen to the voice of like reason or like a super strong moral compass because it didn't benefit your characters, and that didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really good to discuss as players with each other how your characters will mesh and making sure that they'll get along. Because if you get a situation where one player is dominating the room, or one player just doesn't fit the scenario at all, like let's say that we were doing, let's say for Cosmos.
No, let's stick with heroes. One of us was an anti-hero.
Yeah, exactly. That it would really fuck everything up, because then like they immediately would just go against everything that the group does. So I think it's good to make sure that as a group you can at least like be looking forward to the same goal, or able to get along as characters and people.
Yeah.
So that's what we try to do. And with Cosmos especially, we've done a lot of like talk about like how we fit into each other's backgrounds and like what.
Yeah.
So that's I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah. And for me, going about making a character, there's 3 methods. One of them is build. And this is usually specific to D&D. Is I think about like class and race and like how I would play it. So like for Cosmos right now, I'm definitely doing it build centric, because it's a class I really haven't played before. And then there's name, and I think for that one, Haunt was pretty like name centric. Like I thought of the name first, and then saw Drunken Monk, and then all that. So I got Zinc Doctor Menace 2 Raptor's Revenge first, and then built the character off of that. And then the last one is the one I usually do, is concept, and like you sort of build the character's history and story first, like what you want to do within the DM's world that they've presented to you and how you slot into that. I think usually concept is the way to go, but basing a character off of its name, very fun. Basing a character off its build can be frustrating for other people because you make a character that is specific to battle, especially for D&D, and then you forget to fill in history and character and stuff like that. So maybe a mixture of all three is the best way to go. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of what you're doing with this character is you've got a definite like idea for your backstory and concept and stuff like that, and then the classes is all around that. I usually my process, like I said earlier, I will make characters months in advance. Like I'll have an idea, and I'll do a similar thing where I'll think about, my first thought is usually which class I want to play if I'm playing D&D, and then I'll think of a character around that, and I'll usually try and build them with like specific goals in mind outside of the main quest, which can fluctuate depending on what other people's characters are. Like for Cosmos, I had a character in mind. He was very specific to this thing, and then I talked to Charlie and Lucy about their characters, and that's completely changed like a lot of the details, but the core idea is still the same, like with what he's after. So that's how I like to think about it. I always like to have something pushing me through, be it like in Winter it was Thorfinn, in Heroes it was my dad, in Haunt it was like the concept of just hunting monsters, which is very normal to D&D, but not normal to Haunt specifically. So yeah, that was sort of how I like to build a character, is like think about their goals and like what they want.
Yeah, having like a goal or a bond or something that like sets up your character is so helpful to your DM.
Mine is always finding a starting point, which is such a weird thing to say because obviously there's always a starting point, but sometimes it'll be a concept like Gracie was the 8-ball, or Bowtie Friday, which was his name. Entirely he's based on his name, as Charlie said. It's really fun to do that.
Yeah.
I think I'm really, really excited for Cosmos because Troy's question to us was really good, which was, if you were on a ship, what would your role be? And so I'm going to be a chef, and I'm entirely basing everything around being this chef.
Spoilers. And
that's a really good... It's fine, that's episode 1 stuff. You guys will hear that next week. Probably, it depends how sick Troy is. It all being based, like, I like finding a starting concept, just because it makes it so much easier to come up with anything else, because I really struggle to, like, write a wizard or anything, even though I'm like, cool, I like these spells and stuff, but it's like, I have no idea what I want to do in the world, you know?
Yeah.
And you can't come up with that until you have a basic concept, and that's, I guess that's my character creation.
Lucy and I also like to create siblings, so...
Yeah, but we make siblings, and we always have a name joke. So our last name was Water for one season, so we were Chug and Jug.
One season.
And our brother Rug.
Yeah, and we're also, for the upcoming one, we're the heirs of Taco Bell. So our last name is Bell.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, Charlie's running this. We haven't told him this yet. We're twins who got separated at birth, and then we parent trapped our parents.
And we're very rich.
My name is Penelope cool. Bell. Pal Bell for short. Charlie looks fucking ruined.
And my name is it Elliot, and I'm El Bell?
Yeah, you're El Bell. We're Bell and El Bell.
My part-time job, Charlie, is that I'm on the board at Taco Bell. I sit there the whole time, not paying attention on my phone. Very cool. Plain snake.
Charlie, you should be so fucking glad we decided with Pal and L, because originally we were both going to be called Ashley. We were going to have the same name.
Very good.
Charlie's furious.
I can't wait.
I have one last question, which is from Dusty, which is about... We're talking about editing and stuff, and my only problem with recording online is there's 2 things. I don't like that we can't split off. 2, editing is so much harder. And they're asking about, like, how I edit our show. So I thought I'd just talk about that really quick. And the actual production stuff behind it. So When we record online, everyone will record their own feeds, and I will have a bot record everything. Everyone pulls their audio, everyone sends it to me. I will sync everything, take away the bot so we have our actual nice microphone quality audio, and then I will go through and edit that, but I will pull stuff forward and back as needed to make it all flow, because we're slightly separated and we kind of talk over each other and that sort of stuff. The boys are very good at restarting their sentences when we do this. Sometimes they're not, and I make them. And my background for editing is video editing and like short form stuff, so I get really like granular when it comes to editing. I will edit a like half a second pause to be like 0.4 of a second. Like, I really pull stuff together, which makes editing take a very long time, but it's very fun. And yeah, that's how it kind of sounds quite slick and conversational, is I take out all of the ums and ahs, because we all and ah a lot, and although not all of them. And I will like stitch together 2 sessions. That's like, honestly, that's my fucking pride and joy.
I also want to say that Lucy's a champion who edits whole episodes in like, you know, by Wednesday, so that I can sound edit it on Thursday, which is crazy because sound editing takes me like no time at all compared to how long it takes Lucy to actually edit. So Lucy could realistically send it to me Thursday night 9 p.m. and be like, "Can you do it now?" And I'd go, "Yeah, I guess so." And I could get it done before Friday.
Honestly, I felt bad sending it to you yesterday because my goal is to have it done on Tuesday night, but my cough came back because I had COVID last week. My cough came back quite badly.
And the only time I've edited was during because I like music and sound effects in my
I've never listened back to I feel like I should.
It's good.
It's good. Lucy.
I'm Lucy.
Who's the biggest pauser?
Oh, it's definitely between you and Tom. It's okay. It's usually whoever's DMing, actually.
True.
Because they have to pause and think about what they want to do next.
You make us sound so smart.
And Tom will pause for quite a long time, and he also restarts his sentences a lot when he's DMing. Charlie, you pause all of the time. I think I'm just thinking about Tom because I'm editing what he's DMing currently.
I mean, I say like far too much in Puppets. It's actually insane. I was listening back to Puppets, like the fucking hell. When I was listening to episode 11 or 12, I can't remember which one. There's a point where I say, it's like you like there's like this, and I say it like that, and I sound like a fucking idiot because I'm trying to communicate my point, but I say like every second word and and between every word. It's because like, fucking hell, when I'm DMing, I'm trying to make it as understandable as possible to players, which inevitably leads to my brain lagging because I'm trying to think about how you guys would be thinking about it.
Yeah, and like and are such easy bridge words.
Yeah.
That you don't notice when you're saying them.
I pull a lot of that, but sometimes it's really hard because, especially for Tom, because you can talk quite quickly when you like realize exactly what you want to say, so it's hard to pull out some of them.
I've been trying to separate my ums recently.
Yeah, I was gonna say Charlie's number one thing is he will go, anyway, and it's quite impressive. I think that's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just the final thing of the production. Troy is the final bastion of production who will upload the episodes and do the title and the descriptions and stuff like that, and then that all goes online. Charlie is the only one who does absolutely nothing and sits on his bum all day, farting and drinking his tea.
I'm a lazy little boy. I don't want to do work. I'm just here for the sillies.
One last thing that Dust asked me about was starting a show. The number one thing is just to make something. But the most important thing I think we've ever done for Season Quest is we did a pilot.
Yeah.
We recorded for about 3 hours, and I didn't even edit all of it. I just went through and I edited the first probably 15 minutes of it, and then I listened to some more of it, and I made notes of all the things we need to do differently, like etiquette and how to make the sound quality better, and if we're happy with like the material and how our characters interact, and we changed all of that before we started recording proper. And that's really important for something like a D&D podcast, because ours is narrative, And if we fucked all of that up on the first episode of Winter, not only would people not really want to listen to Season Quest, people wouldn't want to listen to that episode or those first 2 episodes, and the entire session feels lost.
Yeah.
So yeah, do a pilot. That's the number one thing to do. And find people you want to do it with.
Yeah, don't make our mistake.
You're a bitch. Hey, thank you for listening to Season Quest. That's it. That's how I'm going to end this. Fuck you. I've been Lucy.
I've been Charlie.
I've been Tom. And I've been Try.
These people are my friends and I actually love them. Goodbye.
Bye.